more about the SWAC. We'll preview the SWAC. So even though the MEAC, what's left for our beloved MEAC, has dominated the SWAC and head-to-head matches past few years, they still have the power because they have the brands, right? So we're going to see all the brands go at it this weekend, right? We have let's see, Bethune Cookman, typically getting his toes dipped into the waters of the SWAC, even though they're going to be playing out of conference UTEP. We're going to have South Carolina State and another MEAC SWAC challenge, as I mentioned earlier, South Carolina State and Alabama A&M. But the two jewels, one is out of conference. Those are big in the in-conference matchup. A matchup that we all look forward to, since two additional teams, one being Bethune Cookman, the other being FAMU, came to the conference. But let me get to the undercard first, if you will. Grambling and Tennessee State. You got pretty much a Tennessee State, of course, it's part of the Ohio Valley Conference, similar to A&T, HBCU, and a predominantly white college football conference, which is cool. They've been in there for a while, actually.
Yeah.
But what's intriguing is they have a first-year head coach and a name that we all know and most of us love, and that's Eddie George. Right? Former Tennessee Titan legend, borderline Hall of Famer. I think he should be in the Hall of Fame, but that's not here nor there. But at any rate, he's going to come with a star-studded coaching staff. Hugh Jackson, if I'm not mistaken, is going to be his offensive coordinator. I think Jeff Fisher, his former head coach at the Tennessee Titans, is going to be an advisor. So he's coming with panache, if you will, as far as credibility to help him. But he's going against a SWAC brand in Grambling. So that's going to be on the NFL Network too, believe it or not. So that's going to be hella cool. And this coming Sunday evening. But what's going to go on around the same time, maybe an hour early, it's going to start an hour early, which is the main event of the weekend for the SWAC. Jackson State, led by Coach Deion, against the new conference foe, Florida A&M, FAMU, and the Denny's Orange Blossom Classic in Miami, Florida. That's going to be must-see TV. So much must-see TV, it's been moved to ESPN2.
Yeah.
On the Sunday afternoon, and the national audience will see that game.
Oh, most definitely. And see, the thing is, man, I'm so upset with COVID because I wanted to be there so bad. I did. I wanted to go so bad.
It's South Florida too, bro.
Yeah, and but see, that's the problem because it's South Florida during Labor Day weekend. Oh my God, and the numbers keep skyrocketing. You know what? I applaud and I praise those who are capable of going out and traveling during this time frame. Unfortunately, it is not for me.
Sure.
I have my concerns, and it is what it is. But God, I won't get this moment again. Of course, we're going to get Jackson State, Florida A&M again, right?
Yeah, right.
But first time in Florida as a head coach for Coach Sanders, facing Florida A&M in their first game back in the SWAC. My God. But you talk about the brands and you talk about the potential matchups that are going to be involving a lot of HBCU royalty. We got Grambling, Texas State, or Tennessee State. We got Jackson State, Tennessee State. We got Florida A&M in Southern. We got Florida A&M in Grambling. The fact that those programs are facing off against one another all in the same season, and the majority of them, and the majority of them playing in the same conference is awesome. The only group that's not awesome for, of course, is the MEAC, but it is what it is. Right. It's unfortunate that it had to go down the way that it did, but we get a lot of these matchups that some of them we haven't had in a minute, and some of them, we've missed out on because of COVID back in 2020. Right. But yeah, it's Sunday is going to be outstanding. I'll say this though, we've had something similar Back in 2019, actually. If memory serves me, we did have the MEAC SWAC Challenge and the Black College Hall of Fame game on the same day back in 2019. And if you were like me, a lot of times during the season, I got 2 monitors going anyway. But yeah, that day most definitely had my feet kicked up, had both monitors going on, watching both games, trying to take both in. Yeah, it was a lot of action going on that day. Same thing's going to be happening on Sunday, a day where they don't have to go up against the NFL, a day that both of them will have a lot of major television exposure. And it's going to be interesting to see what those numbers are like, right? The reason why I say that is because the numbers for the MEAC SWAC Challenge just last week, they got as high as 1 million viewers for that game. So if they can continue to sustain viewership numbers like that coming up this weekend on Sunday, these conferences are going to have a lot of leverage if they can once again sustain that success throughout an entire season. But it'll be great if they can do it for 2 weeks straight and be like, hey, people want to watch us.
Right.
You might want to go ahead and take that into consideration, whatever network wants to go ahead and air more of our games. And then at the same time, the conference needs to be like, hey, we need to take advantage of what's going on with all of these eyes on us and make sure we get more of our games on TV.
Yeah. I'm excited about the season for the SWAC. I really am. I'm going to be watching Jackson State and FAMU Sunday for sure. I'm going to have to click on between that and the NFL Network with Grambling and Tennessee State just for the Eddie George, see how Eddie George does in his first game.
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah, I mean, so it's going to be hella awesome, man. I mean, we both know how, especially for the Jackson State FAMU game, we both know, hey, my mom's family's from Tallahassee. Half my relatives went to FAMU. None of them went to Florida State, to my knowledge. Right, which is literally, for those who don't know, they're literally right across the train tracks.
Literally right across the train tracks.
Literally right across the train tracks from one another. In my great grandmother's house, is almost walking distance to both campuses.
Oh wow!
Yeah, you could actually, when the fall comes, the leaves fall off the trees. Her house is up on the hill, sat up on the hill, and you could see Florida State's campus as far as the buildings, which means you can still see FAMU as well, parts of FAMU as well. But the point is that I know from family experience, having uncles who play and having an uncle who played football, could have played in the East, could have played in the NFL if he wanted to. Curtis Vaughn is what's his name? God rest his soul. If you don't know, Google. And having other relatives who went to school there, having the fraternity brother who was part of this grad chapter here in Cincinnati, a couple of them who went to school there. I know how petty they are. The Rattlers, and plus also, speaking of our beloved A&T, there were not only conference foes in the MEAC, there were arch rivals in football. So we both know, Aguilar knows how petty, and they love to talk, exactly.
They love to talk.
How petty they are.
Yeah, that's why I find it interesting that, one of the complaints from Coach Sanders last year was the treatment that he had from a lot of the fans in the SWAC. And I'm like, dude.
Oh, he ain't seen nothing yet. That wasn't a full season.
That wasn't even a full season. And then the new boys coming in?
Yeah.
Yo.
Those boys, too. Both of them in Bethune.
Yes.
Both of them.
And the fun part, well, not so fun part, depending upon what side you're on in this situation.
Right.
That last game against North Carolina A&T in Tallahassee, that was part of the issue with that game from a lot of people's perspective, was that there was a lot of jabberjawing going on. So several players got ejected because of the talking, not just with the other players, but with the fans. And it was just the talking that went on that entire game. Oh my God, it was one for the ages. And yeah, I know they're going to take that talk over to the SWAC with them as well, and it's going to be an issue. But yeah, one of the games that we left out, I think I didn't bring them up because We talk about Jackson State and Florida A&M and then Tennessee State and Grambling this week. Jackson State and Tennessee State face off next week.
Oh,
so you'll
great.
get Deion and Eddie George going head up together.
Nice. That's nice.
On the 11th. Yes, sir.
Nice. That is awesome to know. That's freaking awesome to know. Yeah, they're going to be streaming on ESPN3, but that's Saturday night. So yeah, but I wouldn't be surprised they got moved to one of the other ESPN family networks. I'll say this, man, real quick, before we get into who we think is going to win the SWAC. You mentioned the brands. You mentioned there was a lot of people going to be paying attention to SWAC this year. How about and leverage that to more eyeballs on TV? How about leveraging their product, especially during and after the season, with those two other brands in the conference? How about leveraging that to like possibly Amazon Prime, Facebook, in terms of streaming? Because last I checked, Jeff Bezos and them at Amazon, they got a whole lot of money.
Scott, are you a pro wrestling fan?
I am.
From like old school days?
Yes, from the 80s and 90s, yeah, especially the 80s.
Okay, so there was a wrestler back then. He actually changed his gimmick when he came over from NWA to the WWE. Where his character was supposed to have been extremely reflective of one Vince McMahon. And that was the one and only, as my man Dusty Rhodes used to call him, Ted DiBiase, who went by the $1 Million Man. And he had a theme song where the chorus was just money, 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 money.
With Virgil, I didn't like him as a valet or butler, but that's not here. A black valet or butler, but that's not here nor there. He can kick some ass too, but it's just, I didn't think he meant it that way. But anyway, go ahead. I don't want to.
So the whole thing is whether or not, right? Because one of the beefs, not only from just a couple of the coaches from the SWAC, but from the SWAC commissioner as well, was that they weren't necessarily concerned about streaming. They were more so worried about being on the main networks. Now, that a lot of their games this upcoming season will be streaming, they seem to be a little bit happier about that.
Yes, but they should.
Which they should, right? But they've also let it be known, especially in the spring of 2020, that they wanted more games on the actual networks and not on streaming. Where my thing is, hey, first and foremost, get in front of the people. First and foremost. 2, take that streaming money. 3rd, like you said, if you can find you an option that is willing to give you the money that you want, regardless if it's on television or if it's streaming, and let's not get it twisted, more people are streaming than watching regular cable anyway.
Correct.
Right? Now,
you're looking at one of them.
Exactly, right? Now, I understand you start talking about your fan base, which is people who are over 50, which used to be their core fan base. But that fan base is starting to dwindle, and the younger fan base is starting to increase because that fan base is now including us, guys that are under 50, guys and women who are under 50 years old that use streaming technology.
Yes.
And if you're capable, like the Big South, like the OVC, that's capable of having all of their games and not just their money-generating revenue sports, all of their sports, all of their games, all of their events are streaming on the ESPN family of networks. That's another way for you to get more eyes on your product. And I said before, and I'll say it again, if I wanted to watch Mississippi Valley State and Texas Southern, 2 teams we will probably look at as the cellar dwellers in the conference this year, I can't. Matter of fact, who is it? I want to say it's Alabama A&M, and but it's 2 juggernauts this year who have the potential of not only winning a division but winning a conference, whose game is not going to be played on television. Let me see who it is real quick. Well, I already know that the South Carolina State Florida A&M game won't be televised, unfortunately. South Carolina State Alabama A&M won't be televised for now, But these are all things that could be late additions.
Right.
But are situations where, as you know, if these conferences were really pushing the notion that all of their games need to be aired, the rematch of this spring's SWAC championship game, Arkansas Pine Bluff and Alabama A&M, that game won't be aired this fall on TV. So these are all games, like I said before, great matchups that if I want to watch, but as of right now, I can't, because whatever that deal is that they have with whomever, it doesn't make it so. So and until they get an understanding of that, this is where we are at. This is where we are.
Yeah, I'm hoping, we talked about this ad nauseum in the past. I'm just hoping that they got someone in the room at SWAC headquarters, wherever the hell it is, talking into the commissioner's ear, saying the commissioner's ear, you got to think outside the box, sir. You got to think outside, because you look at the power, and I promise I won't get off on the text because we're talking about previous night. But I'll just say this, that's another conversation for another day. But I'll just say this. As long as they have someone in the room that's preaching, streaming to show the brands, that's I think the SWAC could be fine. But until then, we're gonna keep beating that drum until someone gets in the room and makes it known to the commissioner or whoever the hell's in charge. This is the word we gotta go. We gotta think outside the box, because at the end of the day, if it don't make dollars, it don't make no goddamn sense. And you gotta
to your point real quick, somebody's saying this to them because more games are being aired, more games than before.
Right.
It's still not the entire slate though. And once we get to that point for both the MEAC and the SWAC, then I'll be satisfied.
Cool. So having all that being said, when you mentioned the two combatants of last year's SWAC championship, Pine Bluff and Alabama A&M. Do you think either of those teams will be competing, or both will be competing for the title this year? And if not, who you have not only competing in the title game, but winning it?
My God, Scott, it's a hot box right now.
It's really wide open.
Right?
It's wide open. All these brands being in this year.
Yeah, coming into the season, the coaches and the SIDs over in the SWAC expected it to be Alabama A&M and Alcorn State, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then last Saturday happened. And now there's some doubt on whether or not Alcorn State is going to be able to win their new division, the West Division that they've been moved to due to realignment with the additions of Florida A&M and Bethune-Cookman, right? Okay. But God, who knows? Maybe they just had a hiccup in week one. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's just the MEAC's control over the current control over the SWAC, and they're capable of coming in and beating up on the SWAC like they had in the past. But the fun part of that though is the one matchup a lot of people are outside of Alcorn and Grambling probably are talking about is that matchup between the Braves and the Tigers, right? Now, Grambling has been struggling over the past 3 seasons. Right. And some might even say that unfortunately Coach Fobbs is on the hot seat right now, right? Because this is an organization or program that in his first 3 years as head coach there, the Grambling was 36-3 against SWAC opponents.
Mm-hmm.
Ever since losing the Celebration Bowl to A&T, I always like using A&T as a central point. It makes it kind of easy, right? But ever since that loss to A&T in the Celebration Bowl, they have now gone 11-10 against SWAC opponents.
Mm.
So it's a possibility they'll go ahead and give him an additional year to figure it out. But I just know that this year, I know the front office is going to be looking at him. And if memory serves me correctly, Grambling has a new athletic director. Uh-oh. And if that's true, then of course, it's a possibility. If they don't like what's going on with Fobbs, they may be bringing in a new head coach.
Right.
But it's a possibility that they might like Fobbs and try to keep him and hope that he's capable of turning things around. Mm-hmm. I just know that program has been floundering. But with that said, Grambling's been dominating Alcorn State over the past few seasons. Mm-hmm. And this time, it's not going to be like last time where Alcorn can lose to Grambling and just win their division and continue to move on. No, this time they're going to need that dub against Grambling in order to to look to get a divisional win, or not just a divisional win, but to win that division and move on to the championship game. And they're going to have a tough time. But like I said, there's so many teams that could potentially win this. Alabama and A&M can repeat. No one's believing in Arkansas Pine Bluff, who won the West Division last year. They had them slated as coming in 5th during the preseason predictions. You got Bethune-Cookman, who's coming in as 5th, and they're in the East Division, but we've seen what they were capable of doing in the MEAC. Florida A&M's coming in at 2nd. They could be a surprise, but we know that Bethune has had FAMU's number winning 9 straight against them.
Right.
God, Jackson State, they've had this phenomenal recruiting class come in leading up to the fall top 100 in the nation. Matter of fact, the highest ranking of any FCS program in the nation.
Period.
Maybe they're capable of turning it around. So there's so many schools that have the ability. Who else? Southern, they've been dominant. And matter of fact, they've been in the championship.
We almost forgot about Southern. That's how deep the conference is.
We almost forgot about Southern. But part of the reason why I forgot about Southern is because, of course, Dawson Odoms is no longer there. They have a new interim head coach there. Will he be able to keep up what that program has been capable of doing and winning that division again as well? So it's anyone's to be had, right? But if I had the proverbial pellet gun pointed at my head, I don't want no scar on my head, man.
There you go.
You know, it's already lopsided. But you know, you look at it straight on, it don't look too bad. But you get the sideways, you got the little loop-de-loop. But still, if I had to choose, I'm going to go, God, and it's going to be a little chalky. I'm going to go Alabama A&M. Oh my God. I'm going to go Alabama A&M and Southern. Alabama A&M and Southern until Alcorn proves me wrong and they get an opportunity to show that they're capable of winning that conference. And I think they get their chance this week. I think they do play a in-conference game this weekend.
What are you talking about?
Alcorn.
I think you're right. Well, they play Northwestern State.
They play Northwestern State. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So yeah, they wait a couple of weeks before they
play South Alabama after that. Yeah, right.
Yeah. So they got a couple of weeks before they do that. But you know, hopefully they can use this time to get ready for SWAC play, turn it around and come back. But God, I don't know if I necessarily believe in Southern either because Dawson's not there. But it'll be interesting to see exactly how this plays out. But I've always, well, not always, but within the recent years, the last 2 to 3 years, I've liked the progression of Alabama A&M and thought that they could be a threat. They proved this past season that they could. The question is whether or not 2020, and I've asked this about all sports, of all of their champions, was it an anomaly, or is this something that's going to be sustainable for them for the recent future?
Now they play 8 conference games, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought. So
I'm sorry, they play 8 conference games, but they only play the 5 division games.
Okay.
But even with the conference games, you got to focus on what they do in division because they take division, of course, over conference.
Correct.
And then that person moves on. Yeah.
I say that because basically so that there'll be more crossover, with the other division. So they'll cycle through each other quickly. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So one more thing, man. Just looking at the schedule, not the schedule, but the divisions. I keep looking down, looking up at you because with Jackson, with FAMU being in the East, Jackson State's in that division. Yeah. They're gonna be seeing each other every year.
Yeah.
Again, petty ass FAMU is gonna be seeing Coach Deion, however long he's there. That's awesome. That is just straight up awesome. That's complete genius. Whoever's in charge in the SWAC for doing that, that's genius.
Geographically, they had no choice.
Right.
The thing is, it's an added bonus that Jackson State went on ahead and hired Deion Sanders as their head coach. And that's what makes it so spicy. Because had it been their previous coach, God, what is his name? It's John. My God, I know JSU is frying me right now for not remember Coach John's first name. I want to say it's Hendricks, but had it been him, they still would have been playing FAMU. It just wouldn't have been as spicy.
Right.
But now it's Deion Sanders, who's from Florida. Matter of fact, played college ball in Tallahassee.
That's correct.
Sprinkle me, man, with that spice.
At Florida State at that. Crosstown Florida State at that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Florida State, if you believe the legend, the urban legend, like when Bobby Bowden and Jimbo Fisher will recruit, they'll take those kids to FAMU's campus to be able to win.
Most definitely.
And that's how they got That's how they got a lot of guys.
Yeah. So
and they helped that they were both successful too. But yeah, that's
exactly right.
Yeah.
And it was just an interesting situation where sometimes that by bringing them over there, the FAMU coaches would talk to these guys as well. I can't remember the gentleman's name. Thibodeau, I think is his last name. Kavion Thibodeau, I think his name is, that plays up in Oregon.
Okay.
He was another guy who was looking at Florida State and also checked out Florida A&M before making his decision to go over to Oregon. But yeah, that's one of those things where you go ahead and show them what they got. Because like we always like to talk about, right across the street too. Yeah. We've talked about it often. I've seen many of a great player come from Chapel Hill, Duke, Wake Forest, and NC State campus over to Greensboro to check out the sites. Yeah.
They check out the sites, all right.
Yeah.
They check out the sites, all right. Hey man, let's keep it going. We went from Division I FCS to Division II. You got the CIAA, you got the SEAC, the SIAC, depending on where you're from. Let's start with CIAA since we both went to school in the state of North Carolina. You mentioned them earlier, Winston State, or thought to finish, you say 5th or 6th in the division in the South, in the Southern Division?
Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. I thought it was 4th or 5th. It is 4th behind Johnson C. Smith. Yes.
Wow. It's crazy. So, I mean, going back to that, man, so basically, is this a year of transition to CIAA because Winston State's been, not to say they've dominated for sure, but they've been competitive the last few seasons.